Hey everybody, Mark Pachetti here. I am here with Anthony Clark, who I've actually known for quite a while. Anthony is an amazing digital marketer, but he embodies something that is really lacking in today's wild west of digital marketing, where everybody's out there, anybody can put anything out there. And therein lies one of the biggest problems, that there's some really bad products, really bad services out there because they're not coming from people who are authentic, genuine, who ask the right questions, who care about quality and care about the creative process that gets us to the starting line before we even have the opportunity to help and affect people. So, Anthony, where does your creation, your creative, come from?
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me on, first of all.
Yeah,
So to
thank
answer
you.
your question, for me, in my experience, because I started when I was like around 19 and I'm in my early 30s now, everything has always started with the product. And some people agree with that, some don't, but that's always worked for me and my business partners, my family, by making it all
Can you
about
take a
the
step back
quality of
real
the
fast
product.
can you take a
Yeah,
quick step back? Just let people know a little bit about what you've done, because you've done some amazing things in this business and you're doing even more amazing things now. So just give us a little bit of background about your dad, activation, how you got to where you are.
cool. Yeah. So it started when I was 19. My dad had a health crisis, and I was part of pushing him to make a change. I was always bugging him, you got to be fit, you got to be healthy, you got to lose some weight. And one day he said, fine. He gave me a camera. He went into the kitchen, took off his shirt, and he asked me to take a picture, and I did. And when he saw that picture, he told me many times that that was a pivotal moment, because seeing the picture printed out had a different impact than seeing himself in the mirror. And at the same time, the doctor gave him some scary news, which he didn't buy into, fortunately. He heard the information, but he said, I reject your analysis or your prognosis or what you think is going to happen to me because of that. So instead went into full on get healthy, try everything, eat anything possible, try all sorts of diets, lost a ton of weight. And I was there as part of that from him. He's a huge mentor in my life. And that's where I learned from him. You got to have the absolute best product. And you'd always say, good and great gets in the way of greatest. So a lot of my knowledge and experience is a product of him leading by that example, like not compromising on quality. And if we found something next year that was better than what we had last year, the last year's stuff went away. And it's always a filtering process. And that, I believe, is a very important philosophy for people who are intending to be high achievers to have, is to never compromise on quality, even if it means that you make less money today, believing that the more value you deliver, it will come back to you in spades, because it's like planting higher quality seeds. You're going to reap a bigger harvest later.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I resonated with you and Ian, your father, in the first place. First of all, when you go through the actual experience, whether it's you, whether it's your family, it gives you a different perspective about health, about what it feels like, and it gives you more empathy, the ability for more empathy, if you so choose, because you get to, just like you did right now, you triggered all kinds of stories within me, just from listening to you. And you don't get that, what you just did in 1 minute. You don't get that working with people, or create, or a person creating something, when they don't have that passion, where they don't have that authentic experience, or just that authenticity and the desire to really help. And what that really means doesn't mean just getting something out there. It means what you just said: good and great get in the way of greatest. That's an amazing line. And it is so true, because we sabotage by settling for mediocrity, or even worse, purposely putting products out there we know aren't the best and acting like they are. So you were with Activation. Uh, so you have your own gig going on. What is that?
Yeah, activation is still alive and well. I'm still helping with that. But I started a new business about a year ago called the Stoic Group with my business partner, Andre Tarasenko. And he and I met at a mastermind a few years ago, and he reached out, and we're corresponding off and on, and I was helping him. He's asking me advice, and then he just said a year ago, "Hey, let's do a supplement business together," because he really wanted to help people in their health. It's been a huge part of him, and he has a similar story about health, and it's actually very similar, and actually the same age. Like, his father had health issues, and he spent a significant amount of time and energy helping him and got him healed. So we clicked on that level, but we're on the same page as far as our mission, what we want to do. We've actually, one of the first things we did when we came together was we created our vision and our core values and our mission. And that's based on the book Traction. And that has had an immense impact on how we do things. And we believe very solidly in it. When you have your core values defined, they're not cliche. They're not just things you stick on the wall. They're what you live and die by. And I think I mentioned to you on another call, or I said it on Instagram, the core values of your life and your business are your immune system. When you know what they are and they're unchangeable, they don't bend or break, that's what keeps viruses and parasites out of your body or out of your business. And that's mainly people-based. So that's what we're doing right now. We're building the Stoic Group, which is a holding company for supplement brands and other products that we 100% believe in. And it's all driven by movements. It's not about the products. We're identifying where people have a emotional need to connect, to not just get a result, but to feel like they belong to something. We want to build movements and then put the products into those movements.
What does abundance mean to you?
Abundance to me is unlimited resource and potential. And I believe abundance is a huge belief system that people can have. I personally believe it's an unlimited amount of resource of things on the earth. Like, I don't worry about lack as much as I used to. That's something I think about a lot, that the more trust and faith you have that there is unlimited resource and unlimited ideas and talent, the less scared you are to show something to people. Like, if I get a lot of creative ideas for brand names or products or companies, and I've had this internal conversation a lot. Should I share that with somebody? Like, they might run off and steal it and trademark it. Like, I don't care.
Sure.
Tiny nugget, but I have many more that are coming down the pipe. Yeah, abundance to me is being very free and open and sharing and believing that there's unlimited wealth and value to be accessed. And the more I fill my cup out and pour it out, the more it just keeps filling and pouring, and that just keeps happening. And there are people who will take advantage of that. We would call that naive, but it's just how I live, and I really can't live any other way.
I totally resonate with that. Growing up as a little boy, homeless, I came up with the natural state. Actually, it was just before that. But the natural state, that is my natural state, to be 100% abundant. My daily mantra is, how will my unlimited natural state of abundance reveal itself for me to experience today? And I'm immersed in that feeling, and I just allow my attention to naturally find it, naturally see it. When you don't have that perception, if you are subscribing heavily to scarcity, it is going to affect everything that you do and everybody you affect. And it's such an interesting thing, because getting to where you are is where most people strive to get. Is it naive? Maybe. But it's an amazing place to be, because it changes everything. It changes your personal paradigm. And now, so the next question, taking that abundance, that feeling of abundance, which is also, as you talked about, the right talent, the creativity, the ideas, the golden nuggets, those, oh my gosh, this is going to be unbelievable visions. First of all, where does that come from?
That comes from grace. It doesn't come from me waking up one morning and being smart. It comes from being very blessed, having the people around me who are also blessed, and receiving that teaching, that knowledge, and not being hard-headed and young and stupid and saying I know better. A lot of it's trust and faith, that you believe that there's something bigger than you. Like personally, I believe in God, and I read the Bible, and I pull a lot of lessons from that. And that's the only place I believe you can have abundance. And in the final definition of what abundance is to me, to jump back to the other question, is peace. When you have true abundance and a belief and a trust in that you have abundance, you have peace, because you're not worrying about where the next meal is coming from, or where the next idea or the next opportunity or the next anything. You just know that it's coming down the track.
I love that. I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, let's and language aside, God, the universe, energy, is this interconnectedness that regardless of our physical separateness, we are all connected by this amazing creation, all that is. Again, whatever you want to call it. And it is intelligent, and it is amazing. And Eastern tradition, there's the term the Akashic records. Are you familiar with that?
I haven't heard of that, no.
In the Akashic records, it's the collective, the consciousness or unconsciousness. It's just another way of saying God. And that all that is and all that will ever be and all that, you know, we could ever imagine, it already exists. We don't need to create it. We don't need to manifest it. It comes through us. You know, you use the word grace. I mean, grace is like that humbleness of knowing, I don't know really anything. But what are you really saying? Where are you really come from if it isn't this intelligence? You know, it's coming from here, right? It's coming from what you feel, your gut brain, the sensors, the feeling of putting all that you are out into the world and getting that feedback back. And then whatever gets created in back process comes through you. Now you're somebody who surrenders easily. You don't have the resistance. I mean, it's so obvious that most people have. Even just in when you said, I'm not in scarcity or not nearly as much as I used to be. It's like, yeah, because we're always bumping up against stuff. Otherwise, we would already be somewhere way else. And yet when we're going somewhere, once we're there, we're already moving somewhere else because we're always becoming. Energy doesn't stop. There's no state of being. And creatives are, in a sense, Jedis in a lot of ways. I hate being a dork, a geek, because we get to transmute God, and allow it to come through us and affect people positively. And then what else is there out there, Anthony? I mean, that's because that's a smaller percentage of who's offering products and creating products than the people that are putting products out. Let's just stay in the supplement industry, that they know they're not buying the most bioavailable ingredients or the best sourced organic beginnings, the plants. You know, it's like if you're gonna give an ashwagandha supplement and mix it with let's say probiotics. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, let's say what was for weight loss, get specific bacteria for weight loss, but you want to have the very best that are going to work. Otherwise, like my grandfather, Anthony Pachetti, he invented time release. What did he used to say? What is the use of a dead body on the floor? He was a weird Sicilian man, but that's what he said. If this supplement is dead, what's it going to do for you? If it's not bioavailable, what's it going to do for you? It might have these ingredients, but if they're not grown well, if they're not processed well, cold processed, if they're not bioavailable, if they're not enterically coated, if it's a probiotic, you know, it's like there's all these things that we have to think about when we're developing something that is really going to help people. You guys work with some of the best minds to have some of the best technology that nobody else has. You can do things that nobody else has because you cared enough to ask the right questions and create the right connections, relationships, network, not have to do everything yourself. How many people try to do that and sabotage everything they do because of it? So when you're putting out a product right now, where is it coming from? What questions are you asking? You know, I mean, and we can be both 3D and 4D, both the third wall, everything we see, and the fourth wall where the cameras are. the unseen, where the creative process happens take place to create what everybody else sees. What are you thinking about? What questions are you asking? Beyond, basic, your market demos better than anybody. So what do you think about when you're putting a product out there?
Yeah, beyond the basic of, is this the right mix? Is this high quality? Is it unadulterated? Is it, when you're starting a new business, especially, you can't go in and create like 5 products unless you have a lot of funding. But there's a lot of examples of companies just starting with a single product. So that's a good question, which ties back to the book, The One Thing, which is the question that you ask: what is the one thing I can do right now that'll make everything else obsolete or unnecessary? So you can apply the same question to a product. What's the flagship product? What's the tip of the spear in this company that I should make it all about? That's going to help the most amount of people the quickest and really feel it. That's a really good question to ask. And then, of course, you apply that, the basics: organic, high quality, made by someone who knows what they're doing, all that stuff.
I just recently did this for another supplement company. They were really focused on aging specific, like their flagship product was a B3 supplement for the precursor for NAD+, for energy metabolism in the mitochondria. And everything about the philosophy in the company was built around anti-aging, but you can't say anti-aging, not when you're marketing, not on Facebook. You're just asking for trouble. So what we try to do is separate chronological aging from body age, which is a very real thing. So aging and getting older are not the same thing. They're not synonymous. That was the underlying essence, the what you're going to build the flagship product on and everything that supports it. So and what did that mean? Well, as we get older, unless you are eating an ideal healthy diet that is full, born from soil that is nutrient dense, that is organic, taken care of properly, harvested properly, and all you're eating are whole raw foods or meats or whatever it is that give you the essential nutrients like collagen, boom, down, telomerase, boom, down, vitamin K2, boom, down. It's just like all these things as we get older just plummet if we don't constantly replete it with our diet. That's why we supplement, because you have to supplement what you don't get from your diet. So, it's asking that question that you asked that led to that answer. And then that just opens up a whole can of worms. So many questions now in terms of how we market each individual, how we market the brand. What do we put out to help people? Just give free value so that we develop relationships and live the I want to help people philosophy. So how many companies, so let's just talk about the supplement space. How many companies in the supplement space right now do you think ask the right questions?
I would say it's always 80-20 or 90-10 or 95-5. It's how all life is. So it would be the same with supplement companies. And we've seen it. We've seen people who have actually amazing products in their companies, but they started it from the wrong foot, which was, how do we make money? How do we sell a product to make money?
Which is based on what, Anthony?
It's just cart in front of the horse. It's the wrong motive.
Scarcity.
It's the wrong.
Let's go a little deeper. It's scarcity.
Oh, of course.
I need to make money. When did anybody ever get turned on by what you need? If you want to help me, if you want to put something in front of me that is going to help me, great. I am all ears. I am all eyes, whatever senses I need, I'm there. But if I'm here to give you money because you need to take your business to the next level before you can actually offer me any real value, screw off.
Of course.
And yet, exactly, that's how so many companies do it, because they don't start with asking the right question and coming from the perspective of abundance. Yes, scarcity exists. Yes, you're taking risks. This is going to sound so cheesy. I'm sorry. I was watching this movie called Skyscraper last night with The Rock.
Yeah.
And he tells his son, it was either his son or his daughter, It's not courageous if you're not at least a little afraid. And I was like, damn, lay it down the rock, because it's so true. And when I was younger, I used to get paralyzed by fear sometimes. Like I had panic attacks. It was so physical, the emotion, that I had no sense of reality. I get so I would have dark nights of the soul. Didn't matter, actually at any point in my life. It never even mattered how much money I made, because the money didn't get down to the beliefs of scarcity and abundance. So how, when people are doing anything from a place of scarcity, they're sabotaging their business. Now, a lot of people do get there. I mean, let's not be naive. A lot of people power through it, especially if they have like the ad budget, or they write good copy that manipulates people well enough. So you can absolutely get there, absolutely, and people do every day. I like when I went to the Traffic Convergence Summit last time. I met a lot of people that were like, "Oh my God, I got to do business with this person or this people," and then there were people like, "Oh my gosh, you are learning stuff that you shouldn't know because you might actually be successful," and that just makes me sad that people are going to buy your products. When I hear where you're coming from, what they are, it just makes me sad. Because you can sell it just as, I mean, if you're investing this much time and money to sell something in this, like one person's case, that didn't even exist, nor did he have an idea how to create it, nor did he care if it was good or bad. He just wanted to see the market potential and get a share of that market. That was it. It was just numbers. Didn't even understand the product or the science behind it or the mechanism, and didn't care. When you guys are selling the Panacea 5 seed oil, you know what each ingredient is, why they are synergized, who they're for, who you want to help, why, all the way going back to, with the people that you were working with the technology. It was all about asking the right questions, and you cared, and you meticulously worked with the right people, or created the products that were going to be amazing and effective, that were going to be able to actually help people. How did you get there? How long did it, was this natural for you to even know, yes, scarcity exists. You even mentioned, well, maybe that's naive. So a lot how a lot of people might think about the way you think or I think. How long did it take for you to get there? And how natural was it for you?
Well, for my family, it was just part of how we grew up. We had, highs and lows, and many times where, okay, we don't have money for rent. We're not going to pay rent this month because we don't have the money. And then 2 days before the end of the month, we get a big order, and we're okay. And that happened more than once. I distinctly remember that. I don't have the dates, but I know that happened. So those are good examples of being shown that it's going to be okay. Or traveling and being in tight spots, or having hassles with the border, and just not worrying, getting threatened, and okay, what's the worst that can happen? This is actually something I did learn from Tim Ferriss in his 4-Hour Workweek book. I think he called it imagining the disaster, or whatever he called it. But if you actually take an inventory and you write it down, what is the absolute worst that can happen, and just lay it all out, and then give it a rating, 10 being unrecoverable, from you're just going to die, is all done. It's rarely more than a 6 or a 7 tops. You can definitely recover. And it comes down to, people are more afraid of losing their comforts and their standard of living than most about anything else. And that's based not on what they say, but what they do, what they get up every single day, what they do, what they'll say, how they'll behave to avoid moving in that direction of a downgrading of quality of life. So experiencing that downgrading of quality of life, or those, scares or rough moments, and then being shown that you come through, goes a long way to having that peace with just not worrying about it.
I love the simplicity there at the end, and then the smile. It reminded me of Jesse Ventura. He was asked this long question. He was the governor of Minnesota. He got asked this long question by Wolf Blitzer from CNN, and Jesse Ventura just leans in and goes, "No." But that, I mean, you gave a great eloquent. I mean, that was just amazing. But just at the end, just don't worry about it. I used to say that to my daughter too all the time. It annoyed her. Well, how do you just not worry about it? But it is doing exactly what you're doing. It's bumping up against it. And when you dive into consciousness and your imagination to the very worst of what could happen, and you acknowledge, wow, I'm creating this right now in my mind. It's not happening to me. It's all happening. And you can dissolve that illusion just by acknowledging it. And it's not like there's not always something scary. I mean, it wouldn't be fun if you didn't have those moments when it's like, yeah. You don't get those moments when you're just like, I wasn't afraid.
Of course it's scary. Yeah, it's terrifying. And, the Rock thing about, courage and a little bit scared. Well, sometimes it's a lot of scared. And yeah, you need something to pull from. You need examples. You need to be shown. Like everybody, I think people learn best when they have a really good example and a mentor, whether it's somebody who's actually a mentor there, or it's a historical figure or an example, or you call it a hero. But we learn from stories, we learn from examples. And on the story thing, like talking about companies who just start selling because they see a market opportunity, when you have a story behind it, and it doesn't have to be rags to riches, but you have a real solid reason for doing this, and you can tell that story, that's what connects to people. And that's how you have a real impact in their life with the products, and of course with the feeling they get by being associated with that products. And that's how you build movements. One of the really strong examples we've seen is Lady Boss. You may have seen her, Kaylin. Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. And she has a very powerful story, and she empowers her audience, and we're very impressed with that.
I just worked with somebody who we patterned a lot after their stuff. I mean, not their content, but a lot of what they do, especially in the movie side of things. I loved what they did there. Brilliant stuff. And you said it. I mean, what you just said right there basically summarizes it. I mean, and you have to have that story. You have to have that passion. And if you don't, you have to bring in the people that do. And it has to come from the desire to help. It has to come from the desire to help, which does mean no matter where you are in your relationship with scarcity and abundance, you're going to bump up against stuff. Know it, love it, get excited about it. I get excited about it now, like blinking motel sign. There's power here, Mark. Ooh, yes. What's behind it? It's just like, get excited. Yeah, it's scary because you don't want the fall, the plummet, the embarrassment, the lack of comfort and luxury. But guess what? What's on the other side of it?
One of the scariest things that people have is saying, I'm sorry, and really meaning it. And enduring a couple minutes of awkward embarrassment, and also not having an attachment to what the response is. So if you're going to go and say, I'm sorry, not thinking, well, they need to accept it or they need to be cool. And just saying, I'm showing up and I'm delivering my olive branch, and there are absolutely no strings attached to it. Like, here's the olive branch, here's my apology. And also, here's an important thing I've learned recently, is when you're giving apologies that you throw away the scorebook. Because it doesn't matter if I've done one wrong and you've done 100 wrongs. It's not about leveling the playing field. It's I want to come and clear my account with you and not worry about you clearing your account with me. That is a big part of, you could tie that into abundance and scarcity. Like,
well, it's the same in marketing. It's the same in marketing. You give, you want to get, but you are doing it because you want to give. And how you get, you don't even know. I mean, there's so much going on out there, so many eyes. You never know. You never know what is gonna catch fire and create that movement. But you have to be willing to give, and you have to be willing to give without the expectation of a specific result. Yes, we already know we want a massively successful, abundant business. Now, we're going to help people. We're going to put that aside. We're going to focus on helping people, and we have to be unattached. We have to be Buddhist from the results.
Yeah, and again, another book is Go Giver, the whole series. I actually was first keyed onto that by Justin Brook, who, shout out to him. He's an amazing person. I'm looking forward to meeting him one day, but he's always dropping super value bombs in his emails, his social media. Very good example to follow. But the Go Giver mentality, yeah, is just give, 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 plant seeds and know that it's going to come back. Like it's impossible for it not to come back. It's a universal law. It's a universal constant, especially when you give without the expectation. You have a knowing that it's going to come back, but you're not counting when it comes back.
Absolutely. Like Bob Marley said, you can't give your more to receive your less. It was in a song. It was a good line. Anthony, I so appreciate it. I wanna leave some meat on the bone for our next talk. I mean, this is just some great foundation stuff. But we're gonna talk for another hour, and I want to go into the next conversation when people are ready for it. This is so much right here. I so appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you giving me the
This
platform and believing in me.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You embody the unseen, creating the scene, and you are so amazing at surrendering to the creative process. I'm in awe of it, and I know that everybody watching this in this business, whether they're marketing a product or a service, are going to be in awe of it as well, because this embodies what everybody needs to become in their own way, coming from their own passion and essence and story, to blast creativity out there, to blast whatever it is we're inspired to allow come through us to go out there. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yes. All right, we'll stop there.